Yo, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm good, brother. How you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
So it's a good word, man. How's life?
Life's good, dude. I'm excited that we're finally starting this, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, right. It's finally putting the wheels to the pavement, as they say, and starting something that you and I have been discussing for a while.
Yeah, dude.
So, what's up, bro? Let's start it off. Let's let the viewers know a little bit about ourselves, right? So, I'll let you take the reins. So,
All right, cool.
tell us a
Um,
little bit about. Sorry to cut you off. Tell us a little bit about your your background in terms of, right, our goal is the crypto space. Tell us a little bit about your background in the crypto space, and tell us how you are where you are today.
all right. Well, it all started one night. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so I used to dabble a little bit with stocks,
Okay.
and that's how I kind of got started into investing. I would throw, a couple of dollars here and there, and just play around and try to, get some returns. But it was nothing crazy. I just kind of did it for fun and just kind of tried to, just make my money work for me a little bit. And then it wasn't until actually, me and you linked up that you kind of sat down and broke the whole crypto space down to me. And you planted the seed in my head, and then from then on, I just started researching it. You know, every day. Anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour or two. And, I jumped in that day. I made a Coinbase and I threw a couple bucks in there. I bought, I think I bought XRP was my first crypto that I bought. And then I bought some Ethereum, a little bit of Bitcoin, because, when you're starting off, you're just like kind of, throwing a couple bucks
Dipping your
in there.
toe, dipping your toe.
That's it. Checking the temperature of the water. So then, with the small amount that I put in, me and my wife saw like a pretty decent return, and then that's when we're like, you know what, this is something that one, the technology makes a lot of sense, and two, we're still early, so we decided, you know what, let's just allocate some of our investing money in there, and that's kind of what we did. And then a couple months later, the market just started skyrocketing. I think that's when Bitcoin hit like 64. Well, we had some before that, but like, it just started rallying, and
Yeah.
we were like, wow. And then when it got to like 64, which I think was like last year, we were like, wow. So it's almost been 2 years for me. And from there, I jumped into uh, NFTs, nothing crazy. I learned about Top Shot, and that was pretty interesting. So I bought a bunch of those. I have a couple packs that I haven't opened. I
Nice.
pulled like a Steph Curry, a James Harden.
Ooh.
So I think my first pack, so it was pretty cool. And there was some value there, but that's like a long term hold thing because again, it's still, I think Top Shot's still in its beta form, so
Yeah.
it's still early. And then from there, I got into mining. Mining was something that I would always hear. That's actually how I heard about Bitcoin in the early, days about people mining. And I was like, oh, how do you mine Bitcoin? And then it just, I remember when I first started into crypto, I started reading about it, but it was pretty expensive, like the hardware. So I was like, I don't really want to put my money into that when I don't know what I'm doing. But I saw them with helium, and that was pretty good. Like when I got in, it was like at $10, and earlier this year in 2021, it hit like $50. So
So if I could cut you off right there for a second, tell me a little bit about, for someone that doesn't know about mining, what are you actually doing? Do you have a shovel out in front of your yard and you're like
no,
out of here like, so what are you actually doing when you mine, right? Because I think you're mining a few currencies, right? So what are you
uh,
doing? How
yeah,
did you
I
do
have
that?
helium, and then I bought a second miner, which is pretty much proof of work. That one, it mines Doge. It mines Litecoin, and I get
Okay.
also some rewards in Doge. So I just convert those. Not that I have anything against those coins, but I'd rather convert it and get some other coins that I kind of am more
You're
familiar
more
with
bullish
and I
on.
see exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
So Helium, it's an internet thing, so it's just boosting the network. It's just pretty much if you think about a signal. You ever see like those like T-Mobile commercials and Verizon commercials where they show the coverage?
Yeah.
Instead of towers, the miners are the towers.
Ooh, okay,
That makes
okay.
sense.
So
So I get
miners
rewarded.
are so are miners, and sorry to cut you off, but are miners technically like hotspots spread
Yeah,
throughout?
yeah, it's proof of
Gotcha.
coverage. So that's pretty much the one way to look at it, and then the other one's proof of work. So it's pretty much for people who don't know what that is. That's just pretty much that device. It figures not figures solves a mathematical equation pretty much. You know when it comes to the blockchain. So that's how like people get rewarded when it comes to proof of work. And then from
Gotcha.
there, I've just been buying other different coins that I believe in. Me and you also got into Pluto Alliance, which we're also pretty bullish of. It's backed by BitBoy Crypto, which is the largest crypto channel on YouTube. So
Yeah.
I believe on it. And hopefully we get a V-Friend soon. That's also another project that we're bullish on. So
It's another NFT with utility, right? That's what we're looking for. Utility in this space, right?
yeah, dude.
Nice.
What about you? You want to give us a little intro on your
Yeah,
background?
yeah. So my background is a little bit. So the first time I heard about cryptocurrency was in about 2013. So my mother sent out an email to all her kids, and she was just she found this technology and she was fascinated by it. And she said, "Look, there's this thing here called Bitcoin. Right now, it's at $4. I don't know enough about it, but it's floating in the ether. I think it's pretty interesting. Let me know your thoughts." And so I didn't jump at the opportunity at the moment. I did a little bit of research, figured out what Bitcoin actually was. And to your point earlier, you were mentioning about proof of work, right? And so the proof of work, the way that I visualize it is similar to the way that you did, right? But you think about an a universe or an ether where there's various people that are validating transactions that are happening on the Bitcoin network, right? And so proof of
Yeah,
work is exactly like you said it, right? They're actually solving mathematical equations, and then once the mathematical equations are solved, then there's an agreement, and then that gets added to the block, right? And so if you think of when we talk about blockchain, right? It's literally just that, right? It's a very old technology that's built on data, but underlying on debits and credits, if you will, right? So all that's happening is that there's transactions that are happening simultaneously across the ether, and there are various people working to solve. I'm sending you money, you're sending me money, and so then once they say, okay, Joe is sending E $100. There's a mathematical equation. Once it's broken, there's an agreement, and then once that's agreed upon, then it's added to the block. And all of these transactions as they happen, they get added to the block. And to make it simpler, let's just operate on a daily basis. And so, like in a day, if you have debits and credits that are coming in and out, you have $100, 200, 300, 400, that comes in, that comes out. At the end of the day, we'll just say that that block is closed. And let's say that
yep,
the ending balance on that block is $1,000, right? So then the next day, the opening balance on the following block will be $1,000. And then debits and credits will happen the same way. And so because you have one block that closed and another block that opened, and then that closes, you have blocks. And when you have multiple blocks, you create a chain. So you create a blockchain, right? And so I started looking into it. My mother told me about it. I didn't really get too into it. I wasn't really sold on it. I thought the technology was interesting, but I was still just at the point where I was still just figuring out my financial situation at the time. And so I did not pick up any Bitcoin at that time. But, along the way, I started getting my financial situation a little better, right? I started talking to the right people, spoke to a friend of mine, and a friend of mine kind of explained the financial structure as he saw it, right? And so at that point, I was kind of just getting a paycheck, and then I was spending it. I was buying things, and money in, money out, and I really had no control of my finances. And so I asked him because he has this program that he calls Financially Fit. And I said, I want to get financially fit. How do I do that? And he asked me, how much money I spend a month. And I started with what normal people would rattle off, right? Rent, car, cell phone. And he said, listen, you need a place to live. You need to be able to speak. You have to buy food for yourself, right? Those are reoccurring monthly expenses. You can always tie into those to the dollar because you know what's coming in and what's coming out. But then he said, how much do you spend on coffee? I said, I have no idea. And he said, I know how much I spend on coffee. And so then that just kind of sparked the flame that made me realize that
I love
you
that.
have to
That's
be
so
able.
simple, but it's deep, because someone like me, I buy a lot of coffee, and like sometimes you're just like, oh, I just need a cup of coffee, I'll buy it, but
That's it.
it makes total
Right?
sense.
Like I'll tell you the truth, right? Sometimes we tend to transact when we don't have a good grasp on our finances. Let's just say you have $200 in the bank, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a good grasp on your finances, your thought may be, yeah, I could eat out tonight. That's $50. I'll still have 150 left. Then the next day you're like, yeah, I'll still have another 50 left, right? But maybe you forget about the cable bill that's coming in 4 days, and that puts you into a negative hole, right? So I think the first um, step in the evolution of being able to be financially set is understanding what you spend money on, right? Write it down, right? Write it down. What is my income? How much do I make? How much do I spend? Write it all down. Figure out how much you spend on coffee, how much you spend on eating out, how much you spend on this, right? And then once you have a holistic picture, then you could say, wow, I'm spending too much money on this, right? And then if you can replace something that you're spending too much money on with investing, then that money will give you a return, right? Because money is acrobatic, if you will, right? If you could make your money flip, if you could make your money work for you, then $1 today can become $5 in the future, then can become $10, then $20, right? But if you go out and you eat and you spend it on something that gives you no return, then that dollar disappears. It's almost like you're lighting it on fire, right? So I think that was the initial step that started the wheels turning in terms of, okay, I have to be a little bit more financially savvy with my income. But what really flipped the script and really made me think about cryptocurrencies or digital assets was I had the opportunity to be in China a few years back, and I was in Shenzhen. And when I was in Shenzhen, China, which is the technology hub of China, the interaction in Shenzhen was almost cashless, if you will, right? So I had to download Alibaba, which is an app, and then I had to link my bank account to the Alibaba app in Shenzhen. And then when I would go into like a McDonald's and I wanted to purchase something, they would flip over the POS system, which is the point of sales, and there would be a QR code there, right? And then I would just scan that QR code with the Alibaba app, boom, money gone.
Wow.
So it was a concept that almost boggled me because I would always reach for cash or I would always reach for credit. But here it was almost like, we
Yeah.
don't operate that way, right? And so when I came back to the States, it made me view digital assets and cryptos differently, right? It made me realize that we were shifting towards a more digital economy, right? And then I just started to do some research and I took a step back and I started to realize, wow, everything evolves, right? From music that started as a track to now it's digital, right? Everything that you can think of is almost now evolving into a digital form, right? Money started back in the day, maybe if you want to say that the origin was the barter system, right? This for that, right? Look at how
Hmm.
far along we've come, right? Credit cards, gold, fiat, right? And so the
Yeah.
next step in that evolutionary ladder, I think, to me, is digital. Um, but I think that cryptocurrencies offer something that maybe these central bank digital currencies won't be able to offer. And what do I mean by that, right? Central banks really don't have, or they're not up to speed on the technology, right? And so you have companies in the private sector that'll be able to alleviate some of that technological mm, fallback, I guess, if for a lack of better words. And so that's why I think some of these cryptocurrency companies will actually be beneficial. They'll work side by side with central bank digital currencies, but I think the future is just massive, right? Like, even if you close your eyes right now and you were to imagine a future of tomorrow, right?
Hmm.
Imagine a digital highway where just things are just being transferred almost instantaneously, from everything from text messages to
Yeah.
money to stocks to NFTs. It's the internet of value. You're transferring value and you can almost put value on anything. And so as long as you can put value to it, it can almost be transferred, right? And that's why I like the crypto space. There's a lot of technologies in this space that I think are game changers. Um,
To your point, though, I think it's funny you said that because that's one of the things that it was like a eureka moment for me. Like when you hear people explain that, you try to buy a stock, you have to do it between 9 a.m. to like 4:30 or 9:30 to 4:30, whatever it is. We're in New York, so Eastern time. But if you think about it, it's the year 2020 or 2019, whenever I got in, and it's now 2021 going on to 2022. Why is it that you can't buy a stock at 8 p.m. when before you go to bed? And to me, that was one of those things like, yo, that makes total sense. That
Crypto
crypto,
never
it's
sleeps.
24/7. So it's like, why, why can't we? And I think you're right. It's almost like a glimpse into the future
Yeah,
and how
for sure.
value is going to just transfer, around the clock
Yeah,
instantly. So,
and I
to your point,
think
yeah.
there's also, to your point, right? On top of that, I think I would say um, there's an additive value to crypto, right? Because if you're able to pick the right crypto, right, then you're able to get a good return on the money that you invest. But on top of that, right, once crypto becomes mainstream, you can go to the supermarket and buy stuff with your crypto. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the return is twofold, right? So I'm not trying to take anything away from the stock market, but if you invest in Amazon today, you couldn't go to the supermarket and buy milk with Amazon stock.
Mm-mm.
Not to say, right, they're two different type of asset classes, right? One is more of a security and one is transacted as such. And I think in the crypto space, you have not every single cryptocurrency to me will actually become a currency, right? because you'll have some coins that transfer monetary value, but then you'll have some coins where the tech is so great that just the network is being utilized because the tech is so great, but it won't necessarily transfer monetary value. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's a little bit of my. And then I'll finish it off, or I'll piggyback with the comment that you said about NFTs, and um, I think that NFTs, the first NFT purchase I made was actually because of you, because we had a phone conversation and you told me about Pluto Alliance, and I always had a pinky toe in the NFT space, not as heavily invested as I am in the crypto space, but I think that there's huge opportunities in the NFT space, right? Um, so like we bought art, but the art that we bought gives you some sort of utility, right? So if we go to a conference, maybe we'll have specific access, maybe we won't, right? But I think that the NFT space as a whole has a bigger role to play, right? But art being as complex and as entwined as it is, right? You start something like an NFT and you tag it to art, you get the majority of stakeholders into that space, right?
Build the community, basically.
Exactly, right? You build the community around art. Like you build the now people know what an NFT is, right? Everybody in the world, although they don't know the intricacies of an NFT, most people have heard of an NFT, right? Either you're the part of the NFT space that thinks that NFT is a meme, it's a fad that's going to die out. You could be an NFT artist and you believe in NFT art, right? Or you can understand that an NFT is a non-fungible token in reality, right? There can only be one of its kind in existence. So if you iron that out and you think about that in the future and you add a non-fungible token to the blockchain in the future, what do you have? You have things like a driver's license that becomes an NFT, the title of a house that becomes an NFT.
Yep.
And so then that becomes one of its kind in existence. And so it minimizes a lot of things. In art on the blockchain, you minimize fraud. If you're driving
all those fees, all
exactly,
those
right?
All those people in the middleman, all the middlemen in the middle, they have their hand out to collect, like especially real estate. Every time a piece of paper changes hands, someone has to get paid. So you're right.
Right. So you create this space where, and to your point on real estate, I think that on that real estate front, I think what's going to take over from that perspective are things like smart contracts, right? So like if you think of like the Ethereum network, one of the most attractive things on the Ethereum network is smart contracts. And so you can theoretically build smart contracts or create an algorithm where you can write here, this, and then in the future,
Can you just briefly explain, just very brief, what a smart contract is?
So that's all it is, right? A smart contract, if you think about it, it's just an algorithm, right? That you're replacing. So by an algorithm, it's just computer code that you can create that can mimic something, right? And so taking an example, let's say you create a smart contract for real estate. And you just say, okay, if you're buying a real estate property, name, age, boom, 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 all of this information. Once I have all this information, I can tag that to another smart contract that can then figure out, what assets you have, what do you need to sell. And a smart contract just kind of replaces it will replace what people do today manually.
Yeah.
right? So if you think about it, like a smart contract could be a bot that replaces the data entry that somebody does, right? And so you could build smart contracts on the Ethereum network where you can just designate specific things that you want to occur. And so then that'll happen almost seamlessly, right? I'm simplifying it. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but in simplistic terms, a smart contract is an algorithm that can almost replace what a human does manually.
It's like a piece of code, and to even simplify even more, if you think about a real estate deal, it says, Enrique sends Yo, when Enrique sends Yo 2 grand to put a down payment or to start some paperwork, instead of a person having to receive the $2,000 check and then continue the process, the smart contract could see the 2,000 come in and it instantly releases something. So that's very basic, but it could be something as simple as
Ve-
that.
Very basic, right? So, like high level, right? Johan goes to buy a house today, goes to see a real estate agent. Then he has to get pre approved. Then the pre approval process starts. Then you go through all that. Then there's lawyers on the back end that have to look at all these contracts. Then that'll get right. If you think of a future where you have smart contracts that replace all of that, then Johan just goes into the internet, says he's looking for a house. How much is he willing to spend? And kind of lays out the parameters of the house, and the smart contracts on the back end, they'll do everything. So there's no middleman. They'll go out, they'll say, okay, boom, this house is 700,000. I'm thinking about a future that's so far ahead, but the
Yeah.
possibilities, right? Johan wants to buy a house. How much does he have in assets? This house is 700,000. Boom, he has enough, or we have to liquidate some crypto in order to finalize the payment. Boom, go. These are the contracts, reads through it, and then you make the house buying process more simplistic and you cut out that middleman that evolved as a result of a lucrative business, if you will.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And especially real estate, we keep bringing this up, but it makes so much sense, not only financially, but even as far as like time. Like, I haven't bought a property yet, but I have friends who have bought them and they're in negotiations and it just takes like a
Months.
couple months. So it's like,
Exactly.
even
Right?
that.
Yeah. And I think you can think about that from a lot of different avenues where I think that smart contracts will help facilitate a lot of that manual entry. And I think there's a lot of, Ethereum is one network that's smart contract capable. But, there could be other technologies that are on the verge of coming out that are also smart contract capable, right? So it's just studying the space and knowing what to look for, right? And one of the final things that I'll say is investing money, right, is something that you have to do willingly, taking into consideration the fact that if you only have $5,000 in the bank and that $5,000 is maybe what you'll buy milk with, maybe don't invest that money because there's a possibility that you'll lose it. There's a possibility that you'll make money, but I think the rule of thumb is always only invest what you're willing to lose. If you're okay with losing the money, then it's okay. Because if you're not all right with losing the money, then you'll be watching the market ebb and flow, and that's going to
Yep.
create agita. That's my final tidbit, and that'll be my ending commentary for today. But it was great chatting with you, brother.
You too. But to piggyback on that, I think another reason that crypto is so awesome is because, prior to Robinhood, if someone wanted to invest in the stock market, some of these exchanges, you have to load up like, I think like $1,500 or $500.
True.
For someone who's just getting into it, that could be a lot of money.
True.
So the fact that you can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin on Coinbase is very valuable for people. And it's a good way to get started. And a lot of people need to know that, you can start with $5, $10, $20. Play with that money. Because, if you lose $20, it's nothing. But like to your point, it helps you build the skill, first of all. So, if you were to lose those $20, you're not going to be, I hope you won't be, in a, in a pickle. But
Yeah.
the fact that you can start small and just gradually increase your risk tolerance is great.
I think you're 100% right. And I'll add an additional commentary to that, right? Sometimes there are people that will say, I don't have the money to invest, right? But then they may go out and they may go have a few drinks, or they may go out to eat, or right?
Yeah.
It's all a matter of perspective and how you view it, right? If you're okay with going out to spend cash to drink or eat, you should really be able to say, I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to flip that into something that's going to better my future, right? Not everyone is in the same financial situation, right?
Right.
There's some people that can't even do that, right? And that's a little bit harder, and those are deeper conversations. But for the people that can anything, right? I think it's always good to invest in something, whether it's
Correct.
crypto, even in yourself, right? Even if you have $1,000 and you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to do with $1,000, right? Maybe you wanted to be better at cooking. Invest $1,000 in a cooking class, get your skills up, right? And then you could, so there's always a form to invest, whether it's in yourself or in things that relate to the market. So that's my last 2
I
cents.
definitely agree with that, dude. And this was great, dude. We're definitely going to be pumping these out, on a hopefully a frequent basis. And if you're watching this, the original first episode is going to air next week. So we're still, look out for that. And the contest is still going on. So the link will be in the bio. And you can follow us on YouTube at Cipher Session, Twitter Cipher Session, Instagram Cipher Session, and all those platforms have the link to the contest. And we're giving away $1,000 worth of Ether. So 3 winners. Look it up, sign up, and I hope that you got some value out of this video. And this is just the beginning. We have a lot of things lined up, some giveaways, that are coming soon. So stay tuned. If you can like and comment and maybe hit the bell, we would appreciate it because it helps us out. So,
brother, it helps us help you.
Exactly. But this was
I
great.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Good talk, man.
Chat soon.
Talk
Peace
soon.
out.
Peace.